The bobcat didn't flinch. A twig snapped 10 feet behind her, and her ears never moved.
She can't hear. I've never seen anything like it.
3 cubs waited in the grass behind her, oblivious to the danger she couldn't sense.
Those ears are shredded. She's been deaf for months, maybe. How is she feeding cubs?
Every rulebook said a deaf predator with a litter wouldn't last a season. Yet, here she was, crouched and hunting.
I need proof. I'll set up cameras. No one will believe this otherwise.
Susan slipped back to her jeep, grabbed her field cameras, and hiked to the den site at first light.
If I can document her success, maybe it changes how we think about wild resilience.
She strapped a camera to a juniper overlooking the den, her hands trembling with the weight of what she might capture. The bobcat didn't know she was being watched. She only knew the vibration of tiny paws and the hunger she had to answer. By the time Susan pushed through the ranger station door, she had already lost the argument with herself a dozen times.
Mark, I found a female bobcat with 3 cubs. Her ears are shredded. She didn't react to a branch snapping 10 feet behind her. She's deaf.
Deaf predators don't last with cubs. It's probably just a quiet cat. Sound carries differently out there.
But if she's been nursing cubs this long, maybe she's compensating somehow. Shouldn't we at least look?
I need cameras. I have to document her hunting. If I am wrong, I'll know soon enough.
You'll waste budget on a doomed cat, Susan. We've both seen Lost Causes.
Then let me prove it wrong. I'll sign out the equipment and take full responsibility.
She signed out the last 4 camera traps, signed the waiver, and drove back toward the den.
Call if you need backup. I've got your frequency. Don't let him get to you.
The bobcat didn't know she carried the weight of disproving 100 years of textbook certainty. She just felt the hunger of her cubs. Susan positioned the last camera facing the den's narrow entrance, then pulled back 300 yards to a canvas blind she'd staked before dawn. Inside, she zipped the flap shut, adjusted the long lens, and waited for the gold light to sharpen. The bobcat emerged at mid-morning, the cubs tumbling behind her for a few feet before she laid her ears flat, and they froze. She left them among the brush and slunk forward, head low, paws barely stirring the dust. A ground squirrel chittered 30 yards ahead, but the bobcat's ears didn't move. She crept forward without a flicker of recognition. Then she sprang. A single explosive pounce, and the squirrel vanished under her paws.
She heard nothing. I am sure of it, but she still caught it. How? Maybe she felt the squirrel through the ground? No, she was too far. That's impossible.
She replayed the sequence in her mind, searching for a clue that wasn't there. The footage would tell her more. By sundown, she had 3 kills on the memory card, and no explanation for any of them. Back at the station, Susan scrolled through a week of footage, the kills piling up without explanation. She paused, rewound, and played again, searching for the split-second moment the bobcat reacted.
She's not using sound, that's clear. But she's not missing either.
On the 5th night, the camera caught a coyote, lean and silent, moving toward the den. The coyote stepped into the entrance, and the mother met it with a silent, furious charge.
She never heard him. He could have taken a cub before she knew he was there.
But the coyote fled. The bobcat stood panting over her trembling cubs, victory won without a sound. The next morning, Susan showed Mark the sequence. He watched in silence, then shook his head.
One standoff doesn't prove anything. A deaf mother can't teach cubs to survive what they can't hear.
Maybe he's right. Or maybe she's teaching them something I haven't understood yet.
Susan couldn't let Mark's doubt stand. She drove back to the blind with a new question. What was she missing?
I've watched her kill a dozen times. Each time, her head tracks like she's sighting through a scope.
She slowed the footage to quarter speed, frame by frame, and marked every twitch of muscle, every flick of whisker.
Not once do her ears pivot toward the sound. Not once.
But her paws never stopped testing the earth, pressing into the soil as if reading a secret language before every charge.
She doesn't hear the squirrel. She feels it. The tiny thuds of its heartbeat through the ground.
It sounded impossible, But Susan had seen reptiles hunt by vibration. Why not a cat pushed to the edge? If she was right, the bobcat was using seismic cues, a strategy no felid had ever been documented using.
I need to prove it. Pressure plates, thumpers, something that can measure what I can't see.
The hypothesis was fragile, but it was the first crack in the wall of impossibility. Susan buried 4 pressure plates in the hunting path, each wired to a data logger that would map every footfall. 20 yards from the plates, she set a mechanical thumper, a device that could mimic the low-frequency vibrations of a running rodent.
If I am right, she should mistake this for live prey. She'll pounce on my command.
She waited until the bobcat crouched 30 yards out, ears still as stone, then triggered the thumper. The bobcat's head snapped toward the vibration, then her body launched, paws landing exactly where the plate recorded impact.
She didn't hear it. She felt it coming through the earth.
The data logger confirmed. The strike came 0.4 seconds after the thumper pulse, faster than any auditory reaction. Susan ran the test 3 more times over 2 days, varying the distance, always with the same result.
It's not perfect, but it's real. She targets vibrations, not sound.
The experiment was messy, hardly peer-reviewed, but it was enough to make Susan pack up her evidence and head back to Mark. Before Susan could reach the highway, a wall of black cloud swallowed the grassland and the first fat drops hammered her windshield.
The gully will flood in minutes. If she doesn't move them now, they'll drown.
On the grainy live feed, brown water already swirled around the den's entrance, rising fast. The bobcat mother burst through the entrance, a cub clamped in her jaws, and pushed into the downpour without hesitation. One by one, she ferried each cub up the ridge, her paws slipping on the mud, the rain pelting her scarred ears.
She can't hear the roar of the water or the crack of lightning. She's navigating blind to sound.
Lightning struck the grassland twice in 10 minutes, the flash illuminating her silhouette mid-journey. But she never looked up. By dawn, the old den was a muddy basin, but the family lay huddled inside a new hollow carved into the ridge. The new den was high, but it was exposed, a dark mouth on an open slope that every hawk in the valley would notice.
They survived the storm, but they're not safe. Not yet.
Susan found Mark in the station's back office, Ethan already waiting with the morning report.
I've got data. She hunts by vibration. Thumper trials, pressure plates. The response time is faster than any auditory reaction.
Or she's using acute vision and smell. Plenty of predators rely on those. This doesn't prove deafness.
She's witnessed the ears not moving, Mark. That's not normal.
He's not going to yield without a medical test. Something that can't be argued away.
If you want to convince anyone, get an actual hearing test. A bare scan will settle it.
Then that's what I'll do. I know a vet tech who'll bring portable equipment out here.
I'll talk to the office about permits. You get the specialist.
By evening, Susan had a call scheduled with Dr. Ellis, one of the few wildlife audiologists in the state. If the bobcat passed the test, Susan's theory was dead. If she failed, it was the first crack in a fortress of doubt. 3 days later, Susan and Dr. Ellis knelt behind a boulder as the bobcat took the bait. She dragged the carcass to a rock, ears motionless against the equipment clicks. Ellis crept up, placed electrodes on her skull, and backed away. She didn't move. The bear flashed once, then flatlined. No response. Profoundly deaf.
So, it's real. She's deaf. Now I have to prove she hunts without it.
On the drive back, Susan called Mark, her voice steady but charged.
A flat bear? That's definitive. I've never seen a bobcat test like that.
Now, will you let me show you how she's surviving? The cameras are rolling.
Mark stared at the emailed graph for a long minute, then nodded once, as if a wall had cracked. The question wasn't whether she heard. It was how she survived without it. Susan pulled up the night vision sequence on the big monitor. The bobcat locked in a crouch, ears as motionless as stone. Watch the eyes. They track the rat's movement, but the ears never pivot.
Plenty of cats hunt with sight. What am I not seeing?
The kill only happens when the prey touches the ground. She's not chasing birds or bats, only soil dwellers.
Susan advanced the footage frame by frame until the bobcat's paw hovered above the dirt, whiskers brushing the surface.
Her paws are seismometers. She feels the heartbeat through the soil. The bear proves she can't hear it.
Seismic hunting isn't even in the literature for felids. You are rewriting the book.
She's rewriting it. I am just the witness.
But the revelation hung in the air with a sharper edge. 3 cubs still had to learn the same impossible skill, and winter was coming.
She's a marvel, but marvels don't survive if the next generation can't follow.
Ethan found the claw marks first, 4 deep gouges in a juniper, still bleeding sap, and his voice crackled over the handset like broken glass.
Susan, there's a male bobcat in the territory. He's big, scarred, and he's circling the new den.
How close? Ethan, is he heading straight for the hollow?
She snatched her binoculars and crawled to the ridgeline. 50 yards below, a massive male with a torn ear moved through the gold grass, scenting the air.
If he finds the cubs, he'll kill them. Males do that unless they're the sire. I have to do something.
The deaf mother stood rigid at the den entrance, her head low, gaze locked on the intruder. She couldn't hear his growls, but the earth telegraphed his weight.
She knows he's there, but she can't hear his approach. She's tracking him by sight or vibration.
Should we scare him off? A warning shot might turn him.
Number. Not yet. If she can't defend them, we'll intervene. But this is the test she was made for.
The male stopped, ears forward, testing the wind. The confrontation was only a heartbeat away. The male circled, head low, growls rumbling through his throat. The deaf mother stood her ground, utterly still, eyes boring into him.
She's not backing down. She can't even hear his challenge. She's reading his body, maybe feeling his steps.
The male's mouth opened in a soundless hiss. The mother didn't flinch. She took a deliberate step toward him.
He's confused. Predators don't ignore threats. She's rewriting his instinct.
Then, without a hiss or growl, she sprang. Her body blurred into a silent missile, claws raking across the male's skull. The larger cat staggered sideways, blood streaking his torn ear, surprise betraying him. He had never faced a bobcat who didn't warn. She landed and planted herself between him and the den. Not a sound in her chest, only the rise and fall of her ribs. He hesitated, licked the blood from his muzzle, and then broke eye contact. With a flick of his tail, he slipped back into the grass.
She did it. She defended them without sound. I've been watching her hunt, but I just saw her fight.
But triumph didn't mean safety. The male would remember this place, and next time, he might bring certainty instead of confusion. At dawn, Susan glassed the den and saw the mother limping, a deep gash on her flank, likely from a blind slash during that silent charge.
She can't hunt well on 3 legs. The cubs are already hungrier, and I am just watching.
She managed a mouse, but the cubs fought over it, their ribs starting to show through the fur.
I could leave a carcass near the den. Not a handout, just time for her to heal.
She found Mark and Ethan at the station, the footage cued on her tablet.
If you feed her, the cubs won't learn to hunt. You'll make them dependent on human charity.
She fought off a male twice her size. A little help now might keep her alive to teach them later.
Mark's right about dependence, but she's never had help. Maybe she's earned one intervention.
The room fell silent. The tablet glowed between them, a cub's hungry cry frozen on the screen.
I am not a god. I am a witness, but right now, watching feels like burning.
Susan made the choice before her mind could veto it. She bought a deer leg from a processor and drove the jeep to a dry creek bed 2 miles from the den. She carried the heavy meat to a flat rock, her own scent masked with charcoal, and retreated without looking back.
This is not a rescue. This is a one-time bridge for a mother who's already proved she can carry herself.
At first light, the camera pinged. The bobcat had found the cache. She dragged the deer leg toward the new den, her wound stretching but holding. The cubs fell on the carcass, their ribs already less sharp by evening. The mother watched, then ate last, her eyes scanning the ridge.
I gave her 4 days. Maybe that's enough to heal. Or maybe I just bought my own conscience a little time.
By the second day, the limp was shallower. By the third, she killed a ground squirrel in a classic vibration pounce. The cubs mimicked her, missing more than hitting.
She's teaching them the feel of the ground. They're watching her paws, not listening. They're already learning her language.
But Susan didn't leave more food. She had drawn the line. Now the line was a tightrope.
I've broken the rules for her. If I'm wrong, it's her cubs who pay. But if I am right, I'll watch them walk their own path.
A week later, the mother walked without a limp. Her sides filled out, leading the cubs on a hunt that felt like a classroom.
They're not just following now. They're choosing their spots by feel, testing the soil with their paws.
She paused over a pocket of grass and showed them the crouch, ears motionless, muscles coiled around a vibration only she could read. One cub lunged too early, hitting air, but the second cub waited, and her paws trapped a vole with a soundless thud.
Her whiskers were already sunk into the dirt before the strike. She felt the heartbeat first.
The siblings play-fought that evening, but Susan recognized the pattern. Each wrestling match was a dress rehearsal for the hunt. The mother corrected them with quiet nips, pushing their haunches lower, forcing their heads into the scent of the soil.
She's passing on a legacy that isn't written in their genes. It's learned. She's teaching them a language no biologist believed existed.
By the end of the month, each cub had logged a solo kill on prey they'd tracked through vibration alone.
They're not there yet, but they're not doomed. And that's more than any textbook promised.
Fire jumped the ridge. Get out, Susan. Now.
Susan scrambled from the blind with her laptop and looked north. A jagged orange line chewed through the grassland.
The den is dead in its path. I can't reach them in time.
On the thermal camera, 4 heat signatures huddled in the hollow, the flames already licking the tree line a half-mile away. The mother bobcat emerged, head low, and started shoving the cubs upslope with her shoulder. She couldn't hear the roar, but she felt the earth vibrate with the inferno. Smoke thickened into a white wall. Susan lost visual, only the microphones catching the crackle of approaching fire. Then, through the ash, a shape. The mother, blinking, a cub in her mouth, pressing into the wind, silent and steady. One by one, she moved them to a rocky cleft, untouched by the flames, then collapsed at the entrance, sides heaving.
She navigated by heat and vibration, not sound. She saved them.
As dawn broke, the grassland was a black scar, but 4 figures stirred on the ridgeline, alive. 2 days after the fire, Susan glassed a green pocket near the spring and saw the mother lying in front of a new cleft, the cubs grooming themselves.
They made it. They're healthy, their coats glowing. Now the hardest part starts.
The cubs were nearly full grown, their stalking fluid and silent, their paws pressing the ground the way their mother taught them.
I could leave more food, but that wouldn't be trust. It would be doubt.
She watched the mother lead them on a hunt, leaping a creek with an ease that erased every trace of injury.
If I interfere now, I'll rob them of the only thing that will keep them alive, their own skill.
Susan packed her field notebook and didn't set a camera. She drove back to the station, leaving the family to the rhythm of the new territory.
This is what it means to be a witness. Not to save, but to trust.
For 3 weeks, she didn't check the cams. She let the data sit unread, trusting that silence was not failure. When she finally returned to the territory, the tracks told her everything. 3 sets had grown wide enough apart to find their own stories. Susan counted only 2 cubs at the spring. The 3rd set of tracks led east and never returned.
The female left first. No drama, no noise. Just a path nobody followed.
The mother didn't search for her. She scanned the ridge once, then settled into the shade with the 2 that remained. A week later, the 2nd cub lingered at the edge of the clearing, then vanished into the high grass, as if following a map it had always known.
No goodbyes. Just a tail tip disappearing into the gold.
The mother groomed the last cub with steady, rhythmic licks, her gaze fixed on the horizon.
She's not broken. She's not grieving. She's just ready.
The territory grew quieter. 2 sets of tracks had become one, and the silence pressed in. The mother hunted alone now, her deafness no obstacle, her paws reading the earth like a language she'd perfected.
2 have gone. The last one will follow, and she'll still be here, the quietest queen of the grassland.
At dawn, the mother led the last cub to a flat of loose soil and showed him the crouch one final time, her paws heavy on the earth.
This is the last lesson. She's pushing him toward the edge of her world.
The cub's paws pressed into the ground, whiskers twitching, mirroring her patience until the earth gave him a signal. Then he launched. A ground squirrel vanished under his weight. The strike, a perfect copy of every kill she'd ever taught.
He felt it. He learned her language.
That evening, the cub lingered at the den entrance, his mother watching from a distance, then turned west and walked into the gold without looking back.
That's all 3. They all made it. Every one of them.
The mother stood alone on the ridgeline, her scarred ears catching no sound of his departure. But her eyes tracked him until he was just a ripple in the grass. She had fed them, defended them, and taught them the secret of the ground. Now she was silent again, but never powerless.
She raised them alone, without a single sound. She rewrote the rules.
6 months later, Susan stood at a podium with the Bobcat's image frozen behind her, the auditorium silent.
They're here because they couldn't believe it. Now they have to.
She clicked to a graph of hunting success rates, the line climbing with every month of the cub's development. Mark sat in the front row, arms no longer crossed, and gave her a single slow nod.
The data isn't mine. It's hers. I just held the camera.
The applause rolled through the hall, but Susan slipped out early. Her real destination, a patch of recovering grassland. She found the mother near the old fire scar, teaching a new litter that wouldn't come, practicing her silent craft alone.
Look at you. Still reading the ground like a manuscript.
The Bobcat paused, turned her scarred ears toward the windless ridge, and held Susan's gaze for one long, silent moment. Then she walked into the gold, and Susan let her go, knowing she had been part of something wilder than any textbook could hold. Susan sat at her desk, a field journal open to a blank page, the pen heavy with everything she hadn't yet said.
I thought she was doomed. Every expert said a deaf predator couldn't raise cubs, but they were wrong.
She wrote about the first sighting, the silent charge, the fire, and the final quiet dispersal that felt like a gift.
Disability in the wild isn't weakness. It's just a different puzzle.
The Bobcat's face rose in her mind, scarred and fierce, ears that never turned but eyes that never blinked.
She didn't need to hear the world. She read it.
Susan closed the journal and set it aside. Outside the window, the grassland stretched in silence. No sound, no movement. Just the memory of a silent queen who had raised 3 cubs with nothing but the earth beneath her paws. She never heard the world that feared for her, and she never needed to. The image stayed on the screen, a testament to what the wild can teach when we stop assuming and start watching. Through a cycle of seasons, the grassland healed, and the Bobcat moved through it like a rumor. In winter, her coat thickened, her paws still reading the frozen ground for the faintest thrum. In spring, she hunted in a world waking up, a world she never heard but always understood. Her ears remained scarred, unmoving, yet every stalk was a symphony of attention. She was not a victim of silence. She was its master, and when she walked into the gold, she did not disappear. She became the grassland, a reminder that survival is not about what you lack, but what you learn from the ground beneath you. She never heard the applause, the doubt, the warnings. She didn't need to. The ground told her everything. She faded into the grass, leaving behind only the whisper of a story the earth would carry forever. And in the silence that followed, the wild itself seemed to hold its breath in recognition.